there, welcome back. I hope you're having a great day. Today I want to chat about group programs. It comes up a lot and people ask questions all the time, and so I just wanted to talk today about the pros and the cons from both the consumer perspective and also the facilitator perspective. So if you're thinking about either participating in a group program or facilitating one, here are just some quick points for you to think about when you're doing it, okay? So they're extremely popular, group programs are, especially with the mindset of when people are looking to scale their business. It follows the thought process of one to many. So you're taking your time and you're serving many people, but only one of you, right? So one person, many people. And that could be a group program, could be as small as 4, 5 people, and it could be as large as thousands, right? So there's so much variation inside of group programs, which in itself brings up a lot of questions, but let's just talk overall as a group program, okay? So the pros from that facilitator perspective. So if you wanted to create a group program that you are going to sell. Some of the pros to that are that you do the work once, right? You are serving a multitude of people at the same time. So versus one-to-one where you're scheduling an hour of your time and you're only talking with one person, in 1 hour of your time, you could be talking to, 10, 20, like we were saying, up to hundreds of people. So from that perspective, you're serving a lot of people and in the same amount of time. That's obviously positive. Number 2, it creates a potentially very large audience for referrals. Meaning, if you have a lot of people going through a group program, they're getting great results, then they're more apt to spread the word, right? So this word of mouth referral, when you're serving many people in one at the same time, instead of one person referring you, now you've got a team of 20 people, right? Referring you, telling other people about it, going through the program, getting results, different things. That's really a positive feature to group programs. And then the third one is it creates a community. That's a really big selling point for a lot of people, is that they learn with one another. They know they're not alone. They're inside of a group. They can ask questions. They can learn from other people inside of the group. So, from that perspective, those are my top 3. There's obviously more positives, but those are just my top 3. Now, if you're looking at it from the consumer perspective, one of the things, a positive from the consumer perspective is oftentimes, the investment into a group program is a lot less than if you're working one-to-one. Because that person's serving one-to-many, the investment from the consumer is usually significantly less. Doesn't make it cheap. Don't get me wrong on that. And number 2, one of the things is, like we talked about from the facilitator side, is that it does create that community. So if somebody thrives in that group setting and they absolutely love it, that really is amazing for them, because they know that they've also got a group of people there to support them. They've got the person that's facilitating it, but they can ask questions and bounce ideas off of however many other people are in the group. You meet new people. It's a great way to connect with new people. There's sometimes you can even do business with the other people in the group, depending on if you have corresponding, services and needs, etc. Now, my perspective on the downside, as a facilitator, one of the biggest problems I see with group programs is that it's really hard to give any kind of personalized feedback, right? You have to teach in a very broad, general way. You can customize it to a degree, but you cannot customize a program to every single person's business. You're taking something and you're teaching it from a broad perspective to say, this is what we're going to learn. Here's how you can adapt it to your business. But overall, you're giving a very generalized strategy, just because there's no way, if you have 100 people in a group, there's no way you can create content or create a training that's very personalized, right? So number 2, the more people participating, the more people asking questions. So although it seems as though you're serving one to many, if you have a Q&A piece, or that piece where they can either have some kind of box or a texting support, now instead of one person texting you, you could have 20, 30, 40 people texting you. So from a time perspective, this is where that's like serve one to many. It's 1 hour and 20 people. Yes, but 20 people also asking questions. And how many hours do you need to spend answering those questions? or maybe you build it into your program or you just don't. Okay. So, and then from the consumer perspective, some of the downsides would be like they are very general, right? Like we were saying, like from a facilitator perspective, there's only so much content we can create, but also from a consumer perspective, every single person's pretty much learning the same thing. So it may or may not be adapted, you may or may not be able to adapt this to your business. So you got to think about that. And, if it doesn't fit with your vision, if it doesn't fit with your ideal client, there's not always a lot of room for that customization to ask those questions to figure out how you would customize it to you and your brand and what you're trying to do. So whether you're a facilitator or a consumer, there's a couple things. Like if you're really considering a group program, here's what I would ask yourself. What is your learning and teaching style? Do you learn best in a group, or do you learn in that more one-to-one setting? Do you thrive in a group setting, or do you thrive more on that one-to-one? Some people absolutely hate that group setting. It's so overwhelming. But you got to be honest with yourself. Like you've got to know from your own perspective, like, are you going to absolutely hate being in a group with 20 people? Or do you thrive on that, And then what are you hoping to accomplish by either creating or participating in a group program? Like, what is your end result? What is your end goal with it? What are you hoping that people get out of it? And then what are you hoping to gain from it if you're on the consumer perspective? Be very, very clear on that, because that's going to, when you're clear on that, you're going to know what questions to ask and what things to look for when you're thinking of either signing up or creating one of these group programs, okay? So you really need, it falls back on personal preference. There's pros and cons to everything, but it really falls back on personal preference. For me, I thrive in one-to-one setting. I do not enjoy the group program. So even though it's the way to scale your business in the online space, you can't scale it if you don't enjoy it. And if you don't enjoy it, you can't execute it well. So the possibility for scaling it is only as well as you execute it, right? And is only as well as you learn. So even from the consumer perspective, you're only going to gain from it what you can get out of it. And if you don't enjoy learning like that, you're not going to gain what you're looking for, right? So be honest with yourself. Ask yourself those questions and be really, really crystal clear with your own personal preferences before you either create or dive in and join a group program, okay? It's very much a personal preference. The pros and cons, you could weigh them out for days, but that's just my take on it. So share with me, do you have a group program? Do you love it? What do you love about it? What didn't you like about it? Okay, we'll talk soon.